Hi everyone, welcome to our discussion in art appreciation. In this video, I will be discussing the topic, the functions of art. So in my discussion, I will be explaining the different uses of art in the lives of the people. So to start with, the first function of art is as a therapy. In its therapeutic form, art can be used as therapy for individuals with variety of illnesses, both physical and mental illness. So we have here some pictures depicting people undergoing therapy, and while they undergo therapy, they are being asked to draw or to paint. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen it on TV or in movies, but I have seen it in movies like children who experienced traumatic events in their lives. Let's say the death of their parents or being abandoned by their parents, and they are left in foster care or in foster homes for them to be adopted. In the very beginning, they are being um, talked to by someone, a therapist, and they are asked to draw. Children are told to draw anything that would represent his or her feelings. And even the slightest line, even the strokes of how they draw certain objects, for the therapist, that will mean something. Like, for example, zigzag lines or scribbles, that for therapists means something. And by analyzing the art or the drawing or the painting that was done by that certain person undergoing therapy, they will be able to know and determine as to how they can help that certain individual. Other people also, whenever they are feeling down, whenever they are depressed, they're not okay, they express their feelings through artwork. Second one is art as an artifact. So art also functions as an artifact, a product of a particular time and place. An artwork represents the ideas and technology of that specific time and place. So as we look back over history, we find in art striking and in some cases the only tangible records of some people. The insights we gain into culture, including our own, are enhanced tremendously by such artifacts as paintings, sculptures, poems, plays, and buildings. So here we have some example, the coffin of a mummy, and some objects that were found by archaeologists. So wall paintings, for example, in the Philippines, paintings in walls would serve as an artifact and would somehow give us insight, give us an idea of how the people back then lived. Because in their drawings, there are some depictions of stick drawings of people, of animals, of plants. So those will be very helpful in order to uncover history. Also, for example, these objects right here in the picture, it will serve as an artifact of that certain time because before objects were usually made of stone, of wood, and of bones. Compared to the present time, right now, our objects or the things around us are mostly composed or built up or made of plastic. So we can say that these objects uh, dates back to ancient times or period. Next, we have personal function of art. The personal functions of art are varied and highly subjective. Subjective meaning it will differ from one person to another. This means that its function depend on the person, the artist who created the art. So, personal function artwork that is created to express the feelings and emotions of the artist. Examples, self-portraits, paintings that describe an emotional time in the artist's life. So, for example, Taylor Swift's songs. So her songs usually, or I think almost all of her songs, has a certain meaning to it. So it is a depiction or it is a representation of certain stages of her life. And it will actually vary from a person to another on you will um, how you will analyze or how you will use art. So art for you or from one person can be for entertainment. For another person, it can be a way to de-stress. For another person, it can be a way of relaxation. So art can serve different functions for different types of people. Next, we have social function of art. Art is considered to have a social function if and when it addresses a particular collective interest as opposed to a personal interest. Political art is a very common example of an art with a social function. Art may convey message of protest, contestation, or whatever message the artist intends his work to carry. So social function artwork that is produced to reinforce and enhance shared sense of identity in a family, community, or civilization. Examples are yearbook, family portrait, 9/11 memorial, murals done in your community. I think you're familiar with editorial cartoons. So that is a certain art form or artwork that has a political function because if you have seen editorial cartoons, you can see politicians with huge stomachs, with big heads, which has a certain meaning behind those artworks. Next, we have the physical function of art. So the physical functions of art are the easiest to spot and understand. The physical functions of art can be found in artworks that are crafted in order to serve some physical purpose. So for example, this chair right here, so its purpose is to give comfort to anyone who would be sitting on it, which is very obvious because of its design. Next, we have other functions of art. So music as an art is also interesting to talk about in relation to function. Music in its original form was principally functional. Music was used for dance and religion. That was in the olden times, music was used in churches, in different chants, also in celebrations in terms of dancing. Unlike today, when one can just listen to music for the sake of music's sake. The ancient world saw music only as an instrument to facilitate worship and invocation to God. So that was the purpose of music before. Music was also essential to dance because music assures synchronicity among dancers. So the purpose of music again was for religion, also for the dancers to have synchronized movements. But nowadays, in the present time, for me, music can be a sense of relaxation. Music helps me sleep. Sometimes music helps me focus on some certain tasks in order for me to be motivated. Other functions of art as a representation, meaning it represents something real. So for example, let's say we have a certain, let's say we have a certain place, a certain town, or let's say the Taal volcano. And if that will be painted, that will serve as a representation of the volcano itself. Art as a disinterested judgment. So we should not understand this one as lacking of interest, but rather we should understand or interpret this one like an abstract, meaning we should appreciate art in itself. So you may not understand it at first sight, but actually there is a certain beauty behind it. Next, we have art as communication of emotion. So if you see or if you hear like sad music, sad songs, perhaps the composer or the person who made the song expressed his emotions through that certain song. Also in art, um, it can be seen in the lines, in the colors. If light colors, vibrant colors are used, it may convey that the artist is happy during that certain time that he or she made the artwork. Next, we have the terms subject and the content. So what are these? So subject refers to the visual focus or the image that may be extracted from examining the artwork. So that is answered or that can be answered by the question what? What is the subject? What is being focused on the artwork? On the other hand, content is the meaning that is communicated by the artist or the artwork. So why did the artist created this artwork? So subject is what you can see in the artwork. Content is the meaning behind that artwork. So we have different types of subject. First is representational art. So these types of art have subjects that refer to the object or events occurring in the real world. Often, it is also termed figurative art because, as the name suggests, the figures depicted are easy to make out and decipher. So again, representational, meaning these artworks represent something, someone, or somewhere in the real world. So, say for example, the Mona Lisa is representational art because this is a portrait of a certain woman, um, which Michelangelo, the painter, depicted. So, in contrast, non-representational art means this art does not make reference to the real world, meaning it doesn't represent something, whether it is a person, place, thing, or even a particular event. It is stripped down to visual elements such as shapes, lines, emotions, and even concepts. So here we have examples of non-representational art, which depicts or shows different lines, different colors. It's just a way of expressing emotions. So this is Jackson Pollock, detail of number 1A. Next, we have source of subject. So we have different sources. First is nature. Nature is all around us. You can have or you can get different subjects just by merely looking at nature. Next is history. So the events that happened in the past can be a source of subject for a certain artwork. So for example, the Spoliarium. So that is an artwork that has its source based on history. Greek and Roman mythology, the Greek gods and goddesses. Next, we have sacred Oriental texts. So texts in the Orient in Southeast Asia. Other works of art can be also a source of subject. So maybe one artist was influenced or was interested in one artwork, which he made his own version, or he used that as an inspiration to make his own artwork. And lastly, we have Judeo-Christian tradition. So this is in relation to the church. So an artwork that is based or its subject is nature. It's this one. This looks like a garden with different plants, different flowers with different colors. So this is Vincent van Gogh's, I'm not sure how to read this one, De Iben von Overs. I'm not sure, but Vincent van Gogh is also famous for his painting, The Starry, Starry Night. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but for me, it's actually an incredible and amazing artwork, and it has a great meaning behind it. So next we have Greek and Roman mythology. So this is the Discobolus, Greek original by the sculptor Myron of 450 to 440 BC. So this is a sculpture. Next is history. So this is the Battle of Waterloo. So the artist depicted or created an artwork based on an event in history wherein people were at war. Next, we have sacred Oriental texts. So Shah Jahan receiving Dara Shikoh. I think this is Indian, an Indian artwork. Next, we have Judeo-Christian tradition. This is the Sistine Chapel created by Michelangelo himself. These are paintings on churches. And we also have the interior of Westminster Abbey. So kinds of subject, we have history. So that was, I have shown an example earlier. Still life, fruits, vases, objects that are not moving. Animals can be also subjects of paintings. Myths, stories passed from one person to another. Landscape, seascape, figures, different types of figures, nature, cityscape, mythology, dreams. So it can also be a subject of your artwork. Also your fantasies. So these are just some examples of subjects that you can use in art, and there are still a lot more. Now, content in art has different levels of meaning. It can be factual, it can be conventional, it can be subjective. So it depends upon the artist. So if we say factual, so factual pertains to the most rudimentary level of meaning, for it may be extracted from the identifiable or recognizable forms of the artwork and understanding how these elements relate to one another. So factual from the word fact. So you'll be able to understand the artwork just by merely looking at it. the content or the meaning should be very obvious. Next is conventional. Conventional meaning, on the other hand, pertains to the acknowledged interpretation of the artwork using motifs, signs, symbols, and other ciphers as basis of its meaning. These conventions are established through time, strengthened by recurrent use and wide acceptance by its viewers or audience and scholars who study them. So, for example, if in your artwork you have drawn a dove, so by convention, that will symbolize peace, right? So if you will like draw a four-leaf clover by convention, that would mean luck. Next is subjective. So when subjectives are consulted, a variety of meaning may arise when a particular work of art is read. These meanings stem from the viewers or audience's circumstances that come into play when engaging with art. Subjective meaning it will depend or differ from one person to another on how you will interpret that certain artwork. So, say for example, this artwork, Creation of Adam by Michelangelo at the Sistine Chapel. So, it's up to the person to interpret or how you will understand that certain artwork. So yeah, that's it for this discussion. Those are the different functions of art in our day-to-day living. If you have questions, if you have clarifications, feel free to comment your questions on the comment section below. So thank you so much, you guys, for listening. Thank you so much for your time. You take care always. Bye-bye for now.